numerous Americans, including Laken Riley, have been killed by illegal immigrants. There's another girl named Sarah who was killed by a drunk driver who was an illegal immigrant, just to name two examples. Recently, a woman was burned to death on the subway by an illegal immigrant. It was a huge problem. And so this bill has those people be deported and get just absolutely removed from the possibility that they could hurt another American. I think it is extremely fitting that this is the first bill Trump is signing as president, because he really ran on securing the border and protecting Americans from crime, all crime, but also crime by illegal immigrants. So I think that it really makes a lot of sense that he is able to kick off his presidency by signing this bill.
Let's go back, Elizabeth, and remind our viewers how she was killed. Jose Ibarra entered the U.S. illegally, breaking the law right there. That was his first federal crime in 2022 in El Paso, was released by the Biden administration. He made his way up to New York. He committed another crime, was held by NYPD, but it's a sanctuary city. So guess what they did? They released him. He made his way down to Athens, Georgia, near the University of Georgia. She did not attend that school, but she was a nursing student in that area. And then, of course, he had free reign. He was then convicted of her murder. He is serving life. I guess my question to you, Elizabeth, when Democrats hear that and 156 vote against the Laken Riley Act, that just befuddles me. I don't blame them. I blame the constituents for putting them in office when they turn their back on that. One of the things that we saw Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, when he was chosen again for his second term to do that, one of the things he said he wanted to make in front of in front of Congress, in front of the House, he said, I want to make America safer again, America first, but I want to close our borders and protect Americans. The entire Republican side stood up, and the Democrats stayed sitting down to protecting and deporting criminal illegal aliens. That's got to tell you something.
I think you're completely right. In the trial for the killer of Laken Riley, we had a transcript minute by minute of the way that she was killed, and reading it is just one of the most tragic things I think I've ever read. She was fighting for her life. He was trying to assault her, and she fought for her life and was able to avoid that. But then he unfortunately did kill her, and she was on the phone with her mom just moments before, and her mom was so worried about why she didn't call her back. And just reading that transcript about her family's reaction and the way that she fought for her life against this criminal, but unfortunately was unable to escape, is just so tragic. And I think you're completely right that it really is shocking how these Democrats could hear about this tragic death of this young woman and not vote to prevent that from happening to other Americans.
Yeah, and even go back to Rachel Marin's death up in Baltimore. Her mother, she was in a hearing with Congress, and she said all they had to do when that murderer entered the U.S., all they had to do was a simple swab of the mouth to know that man was wanted by Interpol. That would have given him all the information. So not only it seems as if, Elizabeth, correct me if I'm wrong, that President Trump and the administration, they want to shut the border completely, not just the southern border, but the northern border as well. But they want to do a lot of maintenance down there, because it seems as if the port of entries were just wide open, because the Biden administration got funding and approval in 2021 to put fentanyl scanners up at the border. But they just discovered they were in a warehouse in 2024, and all of a sudden they're getting bad press, so they start putting those fentanyl scanners up. So it seems like not only are they bringing military in on the southern border, but they're putting a lot of elements in place to protect the U.S., including scanners and then swabbing people like that, knowing, hey, you're wanted by Interpol, you're not entering this country.
Yes, it just cannot be overstated what a huge shift this is from the previous administration. The killer of Laken Riley had a taxpayer-funded stay in a hotel and then a taxpayer-funded flight down to Georgia where he killed Laken Riley. And now here in the Trump administration, like you said, they're doing everything they can to prevent these criminal illegal aliens from entering the U.S. and making sure that the border will be secure, and this just won't be happening anymore. They've already made, like you said, 3,500 arrests and deportations. And so it really is a night and day difference.
Wow. Well, it's interesting. You talk about the fact that this is something that every parent, it's every parent's worst nightmare, getting the news that your child has been murdered, and then to find out the circumstances around Laken Riley. We will never forget the video of the moment that her mother found out that her daughter was murdered, and we saw her collapse on the ground, just overcome with grief and sorrow. And it's hard to watch that and not put yourself in that mother's shoes to think, my goodness, what if this had been me? And Representative Mike Collins made it clear that with this act, the president, the administration, they're sending a very clear message that if the Laken Riley Act had been the law of the land, this is a quote from him, he said, Ibarra never would have had the opportunity to kill her. So that is really what's at issue here in terms of what the administration is hoping, and hopefully everyone from both sides of the aisle, and I think many parents, are in support of protecting the safety of our neighborhoods, of our children, of our schools, and just the American public. Well, we are continuing our breaking news coverage right here on Dr. Phil's Merit TV. If you are just joining us, we are standing by for the president. He is scheduled to sign the Laken Riley Act. At the moment, we are getting word that the president is scheduled to sign the Laken Riley Act any moment now. We have eyes inside the room where we're told the media is setting up. And we talked about this a little bit before, Elizabeth, but I want you to kind of reiterate this for our viewers who are just joining us. The message that the president and the administration is sending with the signing, you mentioned this is one of the president's first acts that he will sign, one of the first bills that will now become law. The message that he is sending, not just when it comes to the safety of Laken Riley and other children who've been murdered, but broadly about immigration and broadly about safety in our country as a whole.
It sends a huge message that the first bill he is signing is keeping his campaign promise. One of the biggest reasons people voted for him was securing the border and keeping America safe. And this bill does exactly that.